I'd like to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for September 5th, 2023 at 5:15 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attendance roll call.
Alderpersons Wolf.
Here.
Schrader. Here. Madden.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Thank you. Public meeting notice.
This meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting from August 15th.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. 2022 audit presentation. Yep. Should be in this side. Yep, you're good.
All right. Again, good evening, everyone. My name is Wendy Unger, partner from Baker Tilly, responsible for the city's audit. You should have included in your information for your meeting this evening the audited financial statements, the reporting and insights document, and then a one-page handout, which is what I will use to go through both of those documents at a relatively high level. If you do have any questions as I'm going through, please feel free to ask. I'll do my best to address those. So included on the executive summary for the meeting tonight, I've included the communications that we need to have with you as the committee and Common Council. I start with sharing our audit process. As part of our audit process, not only do we audit your financial statements, we also do a significant review of the internal controls of the city, and that's where we assess risk to determine where we need to focus our attention during the audit process. As part of that, we test the year-end balances and we review the draft documents that are prepared by management, which are your audited financial statements in the related footnotes. Included within the issued document, we have included a clean, unmodified opinion. That is the highest level of assurance that you can obtain from us as your auditors, that's consistent with the types of opinions that you've received in the past, and a very positive conclusion from an audit perspective. Before I get into some very high-level financial information, I will quickly touch on the reporting and insights document, which we also issue as part of the audit process. That document we use to accomplish a couple different purposes. One, we communicate any comments or recommendations that might come up as part of the audit process. We are also required to have some standard and customary communication with those charged with governance. We are also required to communicate if there's any type of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies that we may find in an organization's internal control structure while we're doing that evaluation to assess risk. Very happy to say there were no material weaknesses noted within either the control structure or from an audit perspective with journal entries. We had no material audited entries. The financial statements were prepared by management. There were no internal control issues noted. Very positive. We don't often see that in organizations. So the city should be commended for that. Also included within that document is some carryover comments, just really more from a reminder standpoint that the city does have some decentralized cash collection points, just kind of reminding you of that. They don't fall under the same internal controls here at the City Hall, so just making sure that you're aware of that. That is not a new comment, but just wanted to mention that. As I noted, also there's a section in there that is the communication we need to have with you under our standards. Again, nothing unusual or unexpected included within that portion of the report. So again, overall, a very clean reporting and insights document. I will note that there are a list of governmental accounting standards or GASBs that are effective for governmental entities included in that report. There will be a new one, unfortunately, for all governments for 2023 audits, and that is GASB 96. That is the accounting for subscription-based IT arrangements. So not an overly exciting topic, but it really looks at subscribing to space in the cloud, GIS systems, SCADA systems, those type of subscription-based type arrangements. So we will provide management with the appropriate documents to be able to assess the requirements of that standard. Switching gears then very quickly over to some financial information. I have included on the handout the page numbers where this information is in more detail, but again, I will again quickly touch base on these. First item that I've noted here is the management discussion and analysis. This is a Cliff Note, high-level summary of the financial activity for the city for 2022. Encourage you to take a look at that. Again, kind of gives you some details based on a snapshot in time, looks at comparisons between 2021 and 2022. The next item that I've highlighted in here is the government-wide financial statements. Those are the first two statements following that MD&A. Those statements, keep in mind when you look at those numbers are very big. They're full accrual statements. They're not the way you manage your organization on a day-to-day basis, except for your utilities, because your utilities do follow full accrual. But again, very large numbers on those statements. You'll note when you look at that statement, you'll see a very large increase in net position. And typically we talk about activity from a fund balance standpoint. Again, because they're full accrual, we call it net position. That net position saw over a $10 million increase in 2022. There's two pieces to that. There's the utility portion of that, and there's the governmental funds, which would be your general fund, your debt service fund, your capital project funds. Overall, those governmental funds increased net position by $4.3 million. The utilities increased net position by over $6 million. Two reasons for that. On the utility side, significant capital contributions from developers during 2022. That comes through as a revenue and ultimately shows an increase in that position. That $6 million increase is almost equivalent to the amount of capital contributions that were received in both utilities. The $4.3 million increase on the governmental side, the city borrowed during 2022. You borrowed roughly $9.7 million, but you paid down $12 million in debt. So that proceeds comes out and the payments get added back in, and ultimately a net result of $4 million. On switching gears then a little bit, moving on to your general fund, included in your statements, there is a budget to actual comparison for your general fund. That is a required disclosure. Overall, when you put together your 2022 budget for your general fund, you budgeted to break even. You did not have anything added to fund balance. Overall, for 2022, you added to fund balance about $90,000, which is a positive end of the year result. A couple reasons for that. Your budgeted revenues came in over, your actual revenues came in over budget by $250,000, mainly in the areas of building permits. That was $210,000 over budget. Investment income, $120,000 over budget. And then you did have your interdepartmental charges for services or departmental reimbursements were $100,000, and that's under budget. And those are monies that come in from water and sewer and your refuse funds. Overall, your expenditures showed a favorable result compared to budget. So they were under budget by $19,000. So again, overall, very positive year in the general fund. Ended the year at almost $8 million of fund balance. The city does have a policy to maintain 17% of the subsequent year operating budget within your fund balance category. That equates to roughly $2.9 million. You were at $7.7 million, so 45%. So well in compliance with your policy, and really that 45% allows you some flexibility in having to go borrow to do certain things and that type of situation. As I mentioned when we began, the sewer and water utilities both saw a positive increase in net position, mainly from capital contributions from developers. One item I will note that I don't have included on here, but you do have cash flow statements in the audited statements for both of those. The water utility for 2022 saw a positive increase in cash of slightly over $500,000. Ended the year at $3.4 million of cash. Large portion of that, roughly $2.5 million, is restricted. Those are your WCA funds that have been earmarked for the purpose for which they're collected. Sewer saw a small increase in cash, $350,000. Ended the year at $15.6 million of cash, $11.8 million restricted again for the RCA and WCA funds. The last item that I've highlighted here is the long-term debt of the city. City saw a slight decrease in total to the debt, long-term obligations. They were slightly over 40 million last year, down to 38 million this year. Most of that balance, that 38 million, is made up of general obligation debt. As I mentioned previously, you borrowed roughly 9.7 million during the year. You paid down 12 million, but did end the year at roughly 34 million of outstanding general obligation debt. Then there's smaller pieces that are related to compensated absences and your OPEB liability. The city has the ability to borrow 5% of its equalized value. That equates to roughly 210 million. You had 34 million of GO debt outstanding, and therefore your capacity to borrow is roughly $175 million after you subtract out what you had outstanding. The last item that I do just note here, the net position and fund balance, that's the various ending results for all the remaining funds of the city. There is an extensive footnote included in there. The only thing I would highlight in there is all of the funds ended the year positive from a fund balance standpoint, except for TID 10, had a slight deficit of roughly $134,000, but again, positive end results for all the remaining funds. Lastly, I do include my direct line, my email address. Happy to talk with any of you regarding any of this information or our process in more detail, but I'd also be happy to try to answer any questions you may have now.
Any questions?
It's just a quick one. You started with something with decentralized funding that's not listed. What exactly is that?
So those are cash collection points that are outside of collection at the city hall. So examples might be the police department, park and rec, very small in nature compared to the overall results, but we'd just like to remind management and those charged with governance of that situation.
Thanks.
Just a comment. Kudos to Sharon and Jenny. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you.
Moving on with the agenda, under new business, recommend approval of a resolution of eligibility for exemption from the county library tax levy for 2024.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Recommend approval of a bond reduction for Home Path Financial LP.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Recommend approval of a letter of credit reduction for PHW Muskego, Inc.
Motion approved. Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Recommend approval of a vacant land purchase on Hillendale Drive.
Motion approved.
Second.
Discussion?
That's for the road work that we're going to do over there? Is that
No,
what that's
it's,
for?
Scott, you want to come up?
I can't remember exactly what
It's
that's
actually
for.
some stormwater, green infrastructure funds that we're using. Is that correct?
Sorry.
The other one was working.
There you go. Go.
Hello? Yep. So that is actually for the Hillendale Road project, but we're using the green infrastructure funds for it. Yep.
Yeah, okay. That's
Yep.
right. Just was double checking.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Recommend approval of reduction of cash deposit for Basler.
Motion approved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That passes. License approvals. Recommend approval of an outside dance permit to TJ's Roundabout LLC, DBA TJ's Roundabout, located at South 102 West 19570, Kelsey Drive, for September 16th, 2023, from 3 p.m. till 10:30 p.m. for a benefit.
Motion approved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Voucher approval.
Recommend approval of utility vouchers in the amount of $81,643.66.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Recommend approval for tax vouchers in the amount of $291.17.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Recommend approval for general fund vouchers in the amount of $306,823.18.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
And recommendation for approval of wire transfers for payroll and invoice transmittals in the amount of $413,012.60.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That passes. Finance Director's report, we have none. Any communications or miscellaneous business? Hearing none, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Motion is carried.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 5:30.